Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to be talking about Scorn heads. For those of you who are subscribed to me, you probably remember this picture I posted on YouTube yesterday, going over some of the details and features of different Scorn people's heads. And initially I thought, alright, that's kind of the end of it. I've cataloged some interesting tidbits of Scorn physiology and pointed out that there does seem to be some hierarchy based on them. But I forgot one. Specifically, it's one that I think is a bit underappreciated in Scorn theorizing: this thing. It's peculiar because it is just one side of two heads, the other being far more famous in Scorn world. After all, it is the one that's represented in a larger-than-life form in a vast room filled with larger-than-life works of art. And so I wanted to see if there are any similarities between the two sides of the same grotesque Scorn coin. And I have made some rather interesting discoveries, not just between that single entity and its two-faced nature, but also between the other Scorn faces I've shown off as well. So doing some image manipulation, increasing the brightness and saturation, I then try to cross-compare the two faces. That'll be designated the skull face and the white face. The skull face and white face do overlap, which isn't too surprising considering they are, again, two sides of the same head. The nose on the skull face is slightly wider than that on the white face, but the ridge underneath the eye socket does overlap well with the ridge around the nose on the white face. And as for the third eye and the structure between the eyebrow ridge, yes, the skull face does, or did, seem to have it at one point. I'd also like to point out the kind of tendrils running down from the cheekbones to the chin on the skull face. Finally, it's possible to see that they both have a oval-shaped opening in their mouth area, although the skull face has a bony protrusion, acting almost like an organic awning over the hole, while the white face does not. The skull face also has some kind of tentacle or cord running down from it, not dissimilar to some of the other darker cords running down its face. Following that, I decided to cross-compare the white face with the centerpiece statue from the most recent trailer, and found they have some of the same tubings running along their faces. I also found out that they have the same sternocleidomastoid structure on their neck, that thing running from the side of their jaws down to the center of their pectorals. And furthermore, between that, though difficult to see on the statue, is the same oval structure, which, who knows what it is, a voice box perhaps? The point is that the male figure has a lot of the same structures as the white statue, and by proxy the skull face on the other side of it. But what about the figure from one of the concept arts? Well, it actually does have some similar features, specifically that bit of skin overlapping the nose. It's difficult to see on the male statue, but it does again coincide with the outline of the eye sockets. You can see it a little bit better here on the right side of this picture. Also take note of the tendril running down from the side of his cheekbone to his chin. And yes, it also does have the same kind of lines running down from his nostrils to a sort of chin area, just like the wall Scorn guy in one of the recent concept arts. Interestingly enough, the Scorn guy in the concept art, despite having all the same features as some of these sort of higher ranking looking Scorn people, does have the sides of his head missing skin. This is something outlined but not chiseled in on the giant head statues from the Series X trailer, which, by the way, also does not have the third eye, but does have the structure between their eyebrow ridge. They also do not seem to have any lines running down from their nose to their chin, though it's difficult to see with all the biological crap because bears are awful. So why is any of this significant? Well, going back to the wall Scorn guy, you can see they're born with this stuff. This isn't due to some biotechnology that's embedded into them after the fact. They are born as they are, with the features that they have. And so if this stuff does represent a sort of hierarchy between Scorn people, it's extremely permanent. It's like the caste system in India. Where you're born, you're staying, and there's no way to go up. There's gods among Scorn men with their interesting structures and third eye, and there's the sad chumps who do not seem to have any of these special features and are thus the bottom rung of Scorn society. And indeed, our character seems to be that as well. Another thing I notice is that the maxilla of the white face seems to have these circular openings, and though it is very difficult to tell with the center statue, and it could just be an illusion of lighting, it does seem that the statue also has those. Unfortunately, it's impossible for me to see if the skull face has it, or any of the other Scorn faces from the concept arts. The ones that share these important features, that is. Not this guy. He's just some lowly chump. For the sake of accuracy, I wish to issue a correction to the picture and statement I uploaded. The female statues do in fact have that third eye structure. It was just incredibly difficult to see and basically required me to put my eyes right on the screen monitor with the brightness all the way up. Now some of you are probably thinking right now, wait, what about Mold Man? Doesn't he have a face that you can analyze? And he does, and even here you can see some interesting structures and whatnot. But as far as I'm concerned, I'd rather not dabble in stuff related to the pre-alpha due to just how much has changed from the 2013 and 2014 era to the 2020 or even 2016 era. You can see the sheer difference between the pre-alpha model of Scorn Guy and the Kickstarter era model of Scorn Guy. And that's not even his final form. Okay, but what about the statues? Weren't those very important to Scorn lore? And yes, they were. But unfortunately, due to the angle they're in, and just how much decay has occurred, and the lighting in general, it's pretty much impossible for me to discern if there are any significant facial features. As far as I'm concerned, it would either have to be shown in a different angle in an update, presented in the form of a concept art that might reveal a little bit more, or someone with a much better eye would have to take a look at it than me, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm not gonna know until the game comes out. So yeah, this is basically a small addition that further, I think, proves the ideas of Scorn hierarchy that I presented in some previous videos. Until we get a better look at these characters, I hope you enjoyed the video, that gave you something to think about and otherwise entertained you. Take care.